Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Tuesday. We are back from the holiday weekend with 3 hours of sports talk on this Tuesday here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program, thanks so much for being part of the audience. We appreciate you, and thank you for hanging out with us here on 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along in a bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. It's our guy's birthday. That's why he's off today. Happy birthday to Brendan. I know many of you will join me. All of you should join me in sending good birthday wishes to BD as he takes today off. We've got 3 hours, then we hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network at 6 o'clock as the Royals resume their 9-game homestand with the first of 3 games tonight, first meeting of the season with the Los Angeles Angels. Pregame at 6 o'clock tonight, first pitch at 6:40 from Kauffman Stadium as the Royals enter tonight's action only 2.5 games out of a playoff spot in the American League. They actually improved their standing from where they were on the weekend, but their playoff odds went down at the same time because they didn't improve it by enough, and they're kind of running out of time because if you haven't noticed, calendar says September now. You're running out of ball games if you are the Kansas City Royals, and they dropped 2 of them out of 3 at home to the Detroit Tigers over the weekend. We'll discuss that. The game the Royals needed to get was Fridays because there was no way they were getting Sundays, but at the bare minimum, at least we got a goosebump Bobby Witt Jr. moment on Saturday. We'll recap the weekend. We'll look ahead to tonight's matchup as the Royals enter a stretch where they must dominate their home schedule. They must start beating teams up at home because that's what other teams are doing. It's what Boston's doing. They're pulling away. They're well clear of a playoff spot. Now, that's what the Texas Rangers have been doing to the point where they've moved ahead of the Royals in that chase for a playoff spot. So we always talk some baseball here on the program today. But, of course, we are coming off of the first football weekend, full college football weekend of the season. And we are entering week 1 of the NFL season. In just 2 days, there will be an NFL football game that counts. Eagles, Cowboys, the opening night of the 2025 season. And then the night after that, we've got Chiefs football. The Chiefs and the Chargers from Sao Paulo, Brazil for the week 1 opener for both AFC West rivals. We're going to talk some football today of the pro and college variety. Our NFL insider, Matt Verderame, typically joins us on Monday. I get that out eventually. It was a long weekend. Typically joins us on Mondays, but Matt able to join us today on this Tuesday. He will join us at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour. We will get his thoughts, predictions, a look ahead to the 2025 season. It is finally here. We will get Matt's insight on that, as well as his thoughts on Chiefs Chargers. That's coming up bottom of this first hour of the show. We're going to talk some college football as well. The KU perspective with our guy Michael Swain, who joins us at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, as he does every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael of Fog.net will give us his thoughts on the routine 46-7 victory for the Kansas Jayhawks back on Friday night at the new reimagined booth. And a look ahead to the border war on Saturday in Columbia against Mizzou. That's coming up with Michael Swain coming up at the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll also take a look at the Big 12 at large. Chris Kleiman said that had better have been K-State's hangover game on Saturday. They were due one. Everyone who's gone to Ireland has had one. K-State better hope Saturdays was theirs. Otherwise, they're only 3 points better than an FCS team that won 5 games last year. That was not pleasant in Manhattan on Saturday. Is K-State in trouble? That's one of many conclusions you could jump to following the first weekend of Big 12 college football. So we will either react or overreact to the first weekend of Big 12 football, including some thoughts on Utah, Baylor, TCU, maybe Colorado, certainly KU and K-State, and some others. We'll talk plenty of college football on the show today, and we'll look at week one at large, which ended with Bill Belichick getting his ass whooped so bad on national TV that they put a headset on a dog on the TV broadcast on ESPN in the fourth quarter. Michael Jordan left at halftime. That's how bad that was for Bill Belichick's college football coaching debut. There were plenty of other notable college football from the weekend. I hope Kalen DeBoer rented in Tuscaloosa. Brian Kelly finally got a signature week one win. All that, much more, as we react to that first full college football weekend. Plus, your typical Tuesday shenanigans. We got 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do a round of Random Question Tuesday. We'll start a new month of What Is Wrong With You. We'll also do the good, the bad, the ugly from the holiday weekend that was. That is coming up in just a little while as well. Get at us today. We want to hear from you, especially if you are a K-State fan and still have some spleen event from Saturday. When does a win feel like a loss? When it's a last-minute win by 3 points over an FCS team you were favored to beat by 25.5. That's when a win feels like a loss. Want to hear from you. 785-272-9429. You can also jump in the YouTube chat. If you are watching the program live on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have an idea for our next stretch goal. We'll make it 900 subscribers. We got to our 800 subscriber stretch goal, which means in 2 weeks, Brendan Dorzinski and I are going to arm wrestle live on this program, live on camera. But when we get to 900, I have an idea. I haven't yet run it by the crew. Brendan wasn't here today, so he took the day off, so I couldn't run it by him today. I'll run it by the guys. I have an idea. 900 is the next stretch goal, and the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single subscriber, and that might be you if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Punch it up on your phone, your tablet. Go to youtube.com, search for us, hit that subscribe button. Only thing it costs you is a click, and get us closer to more public humiliation from your 580 Sports Talk pals in some form or fashion. That's coming up as long as you get us to 900 subscribers. You can also comment on the Facebook if you are watching on the Facebook page today, WIBW News. But we appreciate you commenters in the YouTube chat. Mark H. is in early. Andrew, hello. Paul, Vance, good to see you. Richard, appreciate you being in as well with the K-State thought. We'll get to that certainly later on in the program. Thanks for being here. Look forward to hearing from more of you throughout the day, both on the text line, 785-272-9429, and in the YouTube chat. Quick bit of show business before we get rolling today. Want to remind you folks that 580 Sports Talk is going to be on location. That's how we're going to celebrate the start of the NFL season. We're going to be on location at Prairie Band Sportsbook up at Prairie Band Casino and Resort in Mayetta. We will be there live for our Thursday show. There is still time to sign up for the Prairie Band Pro Football Tournament. You can sign up online, pftrules.com. You have until September 7th at noon, the start of the Sunday kickoffs, to get registered. pftrules.com to sign up for the Prairie Band Pro Football Tournament. And if you sign up on Thursday, if you enter on Thursday, when we're up there, if you come up and you enter in person, you're going to be entered into a drawing to win 3 tickets to see the Chiefs home opener against the Philadelphia Eagles. So you're going to want to come up and see us and join the tournament and get registered for your chance to win those tickets to see a Super Bowl rematch at Arrowhead Stadium in week 2. That's coming up Thursday. We'll be there 3 to 6. Also, a reminder that if you are up there that day or any day, there's a pro football bet and get where if you bet $10 until September 8th, go make a $10 bet at Prairie Band Sportsbook. Any $10 bet will be matched with either a free bet at the sportsbook or $10 in Prairie cash. That's through September 8th up at Prairie Band Sportsbook. We look forward to seeing you there Thursday from 3 to 6. Surely some of you will be filing in, getting ready to watch the Thursday night football game. Get your futures bets down, get your parlays going, and get fired up for the start of the football season. All right. I know it's big football weekend, and trust me, we've got a lot of ground to cover when it comes to football. But it is September, and the Kansas City Royals are still playing meaningful baseball. Although the playoff odds picture did get a little grimmer after their series loss to the Tigers over the weekend. Baseball Reference has the Royals playoff odds at 15.8%. Fangraphs, which has always been more pessimistic, has the Royals with just a 10.4% chance of making the playoffs. Friday night was the game they had to get. It was the game that they needed to win. They came out firing with that 3-0 lead early. Yastrzemski with the home run to lead off the game. Michael Garcia with the 2-run shot. But it feels like the Royals have had like a half a dozen games this year where they've jumped on a starting pitcher like that and then done nothing the rest of the night. Meanwhile, Seth Lugo was cheeks again, coughed up that lead, didn't make it through the fourth, to the point where you got to wonder if there is something physically wrong. And not only do you have to wonder, you kind of have to hope there's something physically wrong at this point with Seth Lugo. Because it's one thing for a guy to struggle, just be in a funk, not pitch well, not get results. That happens to everybody. But watching Seth Lugo pitch since he signed that 2-year extension, it has been a chore because he has been laboring. The command, which is usually pretty sharp, has not been good. He's having to give in to hitters, be in contact zones, and he's getting strafed. And that 3-0 lead disappeared, and the Royals didn't score again after those 2 home runs in the first inning and end up losing that Friday game 5-3. And that was the one they needed to get because they weren't getting Sunday. Not against Tarek Skubal. It looked for a minute like we might have a pitcher's duel. It was scoreless into the 5th, but Michael Wacha showed that the third time through the batting order is typically not the charm for him. 4 runs later, that game was on ice because Tarek Skubal, as he so often does to the Royals and to everybody, fed that lineup crumbs for 7 innings. No runs on 4 hits. Royals, in fact, blanked on the afternoon, 5-0, the final score as the Royals drop the series and end up going 4-9 against Detroit this season. The Tigers had their number, and if the Royals end up missing the playoffs, we're going to look at some of those games against the Tigers and point to those as being games that if the Royals just could have been more competitive against the team that's running away with the Central Division, maybe they could have had a different fate. At least we had Saturday, right? Man, Saturday was a moment. Being a sports fan, it's about moments, right? It's about the moments, the plays, the crowd pops that give you goosebumps. And to be frank, the Royals have been a little bit short on those moments this year, which is kind of what happens when you muddle around the 500 mark for the better part of the season. And, the late season games, you're taking a lot of drama. There's been a lot of drama in a lot of these Royals wins, even when they've been playing some of the best ball in the major leagues since early July. But we had drama on Saturday night, national TV, 34,000 plus in the crowd at the K. Bobby Witt Jr.'s go-ahead 2-run home run. That was a goosebump moment. That was a crowd pop to remember. That was maybe the signature moment for Bobby Witt Jr.'s 2025 season. Certainly one of the signature moments for this Royals season. Carlos Estevez coming out, slamming the door in the 9th was big as well. The Royals got a game, had to get at least one, but they weren't getting Sunday, and you kind of knew it. I mean, we threw around the stat to be funny about how the Royals were 2-0 against Tarek Skubal this year. They've gotten 1 run off of him. 1 in 2 starts. That's what he does, man. It's not a uniquely Royals failure to not be able to get after that guy. That's everybody. That's why he's the best pitcher alive. That's why he's going to win a 2nd consecutive Cy Young. So the Royals find themselves 3 games over 500, 70-67 as their September action gets underway with the game tonight, first of 3 against the Los Angeles Angels. 70 plus 67, 137. That means there are 25 games remaining. 25 games to make up 2.5 on Seattle. And also, all of a sudden, make up a game on Texas. Boston is 6 up. New York is 6 up. Those playoff spots feel pretty spoken for, barring an unforeseen collapse out in the Northeast. It's Seattle. That's the team to catch. And I guess now Texas. 25 games, 2.5. That's not impossible. It's not doable, but you are running out of games. You are running out of length of rope. You are running out of opportunity, however you want to call it. And it's time for the Royals to have a dominant week at home to begin closing the gap. Because the Rangers, to get back into this race, they have had some stretches of dominance. They beat up on the Guardians at home over the weekend. They had an opportunity against the Sacramento A's and kicked their tails up and down the West Coast with a 3-game sweep. And then back at home last night against an Arizona team that's very much Cancun on 3 at this stage. They rallied with 2 runs in the 9th and 2 more in the 10th to win that game 7-5. The villain, as far as Royals fans concerned, somebody named Cody Freeman, who drove in the tying run with 2 outs in the 9th off of, I got to be honest with you, I don't know who any of these Diamondbacks relievers are anymore. I got no idea who they're running out there except for, what's his name? The one who, one of the Royals traded to him for Gritchick. Andrew Hoffman. So the Rangers taking advantage of a soft spot in the schedule, and they're kicking some tail. And now, out of nowhere, they're back in this thing. They're 72-67, and they're only a game and a half out. Well, now the Royals are presented with a chance to get back in this thing with 6 at home against teams that are buried. The Angels and the Twins. We know the Twins deal. Even though the Royals dropped 2 out of 3 to Minnesota right after the trade deadline, this is still something of a zombie baseball team just playing out the string. The Angels, who the Royals somehow haven't seen all season. The first meeting, they play all 6 of their games this year against the Angels in September, which is odd. The Angels are 64-73. They did take a series over the weekend against Houston, which was a bit of a surprise, but they've been playing well below 500 ball for the better part of the last month. Taylor Ward got hurt over the weekend in Houston. Pretty grisly injury. Ran into the metal scoreboard, scratched up his face pretty good. They're going to have a bullpen day. They're going to have a kid making his major league debut pitching tonight. This has to be a sweep. This has to be the time of the schedule where if the Royals are serious about making a run, it has to for real be a run, and it has to start now. 5-1 on this stretch of the homestand is what we had laid out for them. When we divided the path to 86 wins, we said, well, 5-2 in that stretch against who was it? It was they had to go 5-2 in that stretch where they played the White Sox and they played Texas. And they went 6-1 in that stretch, which means that they're still on course, even though in the last 9 games, 3 at Detroit, 3 at Chicago, 3 at home against Detroit, we said 5-4 for that stretch. They went 4-5. But you add the 2 together, they're still on pace. They spent one of their mulligans that they got from going 6-1 through that 7-game home stretch. Now they've got to have another dominant home stretch. The good news is the last time we saw them at home against lesser competition, they went 6-1. So 5-1 is entirely doable this week, and it has to happen. It is time for the Royals to step on the gas, and it has to begin tonight in Kauffman Stadium. We'll take a time out here at 580 Sports Talk. We'll get back with a good, bad, ugly from the weekend, the long weekend that was. Plenty of sports and a non-sports note in there, a personal note for me. That's coming up here in just a little bit. We'll come back with that. We've got Matt Verderame at the bottom of the hour coming up in about 10 minutes or so. We will have Michael Swain, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Plenty of Big 12 football to talk about and all the typical Tuesday silliness as well. We're just getting started on this Tuesday. We're glad you're with us on 580 Sports Talk. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly from the Labor Day weekend. Hope it was a good, restful weekend for all of you. If you had Monday off, you had that occasion. Hopefully you were able to enjoy it with family and friends. A quick non-sports good from me. My folks were in town for the weekend. My folks came to visit from the Denver area, and it's sure is neat to see them interact with my son and have that time with him. And I'm sure anybody who's a parent can relate that seeing your parents interact with your own children gives you a renewed appreciation for your own parents. And I can certainly say for myself that is true. We had a great time. They had a great time. Got to play golf with my dad, played 18 up at Berkshire. Don't ask me about the front nine. Let me just tell you about the birdie I made on 18. That's some good. That's some sports good. Hit a great 7-iron in. Made a putt. The only putt I made all day. But I had some fun playing a little golf. Going out to eat, just watching some football, just having a good time with the folks. So that was good, indisputably good. Also good, Bobby Witt Jr.'s homer in the 8th on Saturday. Man, what a moment that was for the Royals in this 2025 season. I think it's probably the signature moment. Andrew was there in a YouTube comment, said that was an electric crowd. And you could tell it came through on TV. No question about it. That was a moment. That was a goosebump moment. And would have been nice if it could have inspired the Royals to a victory on Sunday. But you know what they say about momentum in baseball? It's only as good as the next day's starting pitcher. And sometimes it's only as good as the next day's starting pitching matchup. And with respect to Michael Wacha, who's had a fine year for the Royals, been a steady veteran hand. You know what you're getting out of him most days. He ain't Tarik Skubal. And there's only one of those right now in Major League Baseball, and he showed why on Sunday, which was a bit of a disappointment. Also a good from the weekend, having college football back, having that full day of college football. But it was good to see Lee Corso get his flowers on his final edition of College Game Day. He nailed every one of his picks. He went 6 for 6 picking games. And every school that Lee Corso was ever affiliated with, played for, or coached, all of those schools won on Saturday, which was pretty darn cool. Florida State got the big win over Alabama. Obviously, he put on the Buckeye head. He's called it his first love, always his favorite one to put on. And Ohio State beat Texas, nailed all his picks. Had to be that for Lee Corso. I will probably never watch College Game Day again as they turn it over and make it into the Pat McAfee show, basically. I have no interest in that. Longtime listeners will know that is not anything that appeals to me. My thing is I like shtick, like over-the-top shtick, when it's authentic. Like Dick Vitale's. I realize he's not for everybody. But I think that there is authenticity in Dick Vitale's excitement for and love for college basketball. And so I appreciate it on that level, just like I appreciated Chris Berman's authenticity for years on NFL primetime, even if that was shtick, but I thought it was authentic. And Lee Corso's appreciation for college football, always authentic. And I don't think there is an authentic bone in Pat McAfee's body. I don't. I think he's a pro wrestling heel trying to get heat from the crowd, and I just don't think there's any iota of authenticity in Pat McAfee. I think he's one of the least authentic people to ever be on television. So that's just not something I have any interest in, and I'm certainly not going to watch Big Noon Kickoff. I don't want to look at Urban Meyer. I don't want to hear Dave Portnoy. I had no interest in that show. So that's probably it for me as far as watching pregame college football shows. I don't think I'll ever go back. I think I'll turn the TV on at 11 Central and watch the kickoffs. I don't need I don't need the pregames anymore. But Lee Corso was the best, and cool to see him go out the way that he did, 6 for 6 on his picks and getting that appreciation. So that's a lot of good from the weekend. My bad, K-State needed to score in the final minute to beat North Dakota. And we're going to talk more about this game in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll do some reaction to Big 12 action from the first weekend. But it shouldn't have been that. And you saw that it shouldn't have been that if you watched the third quarter. The third quarter of that game was what that entire game should have looked like. K-State was better. They were bigger. They had better players. When they executed, when they looked like they had a plan, that they knew what to do and executed their plan, the third quarter was what that game should have been. That should have been 4 quarters of that. The fact that it wasn't means that that's a team with some soul searching to do. So that is my bad from the weekend. My ugly... Bill Belichick. Thought you could come and just dominate college football, huh? Thought you'd come and show the college game how it worked. Thought you could bring Freddie Kitchens to college football and have him be your coordinator and run a bunch of offense and defense from 2007 with guys who aren't as good as TCU's guys. Let's start there. Thought you just roll. Man, that was the worst loss of Bill Belichick's coaching career, one of the worst. It is the most points a Bill Belichick team has ever given up. 511 NFL games, never gave up 48 points. Gave up 48 points last night. So bad you made Michael Jordan leave at halftime. So bad ESPN put a headset on a dog. That's how it went. That's how ugly that was for Bill Belichick in North Carolina. At least it was the one good thing that happened in the spotlight for the Big 12 over the weekend. We'll get to that later on too. But right now, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back with Matt Verderame, our NFL insider. We're going to preview the 2025 NFL season with Matt next on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Matt Verderame, our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also that football show, the KC Sports Network, and his own subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show. Matt joins us Mondays at this time on 580 Sports Talk. Gracious enough with the holiday to join us on this Tuesday. And a great day to have you on, Matt, because we made it. The NFL season is here. We'll get some predictions from you in a little bit. But first and foremost, since the last time we talked to you, Micah Parsons is a Green Bay Packer. What do you see as the most likely long-term outcome of that trade for Parsons, the Packers, and the Cowboys on the other side?
Oh, I mean, the long term is that it's a home run for Green Bay. I don't even know what the argument would be that it's not the case. I get it; it's a lot of money. That's fine. The cap goes up every year. Look, I really look at it and say, if you're Dallas, there's no defense to that. There's just simply, and I talked to a lot of people around the league right after that trade. I talked to one defensive coordinator on the phone where he told me, look, I'll clean this quote up for the airways, basically said, look, he's not well liked in the building. He's a pain in the rear end, but he's a great pass rusher. And that's kind of the overwhelming sentiment. He ruffled a lot of feathers in Dallas with his podcasts and the other things he's done. But he changes everything about the way now you have to play Green Bay. Before it was, all right, you deal with Gary and you're probably pretty much good. Now, all of a sudden, it's, okay, Gary's getting single teamed every single play because you're doubling, you're chipping Parsons, whatever you're doing, you're sliding that way. And happily, the coordinator who loves to sim blitz and show pressure and drop 7 out. Well, now you've got, I mean, there are a million ways to force teams to keep an extra guy in because they can't just slide double. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But the bottom line is, I think it's a great move. It's a perfect fit for the Packers. I was at their camp this summer thinking, man, they got a lot of good players. They don't have a great player. That's what bothers me. They don't have a great player. Well, now they have a great player. And maybe the best defensive player in football.
Does his presence make them Super Bowl contenders? Did you think they were before the trade, and do you think they are now?
I had them out of the playoffs before the trade, not because I don't think they can make it, but because, look, the division's tough, and I'll go back to what I said. I just looked at them and it's like, Minnesota, they got some great players. Detroit is great players. And I just worried, plus Love with the thumb. I know they're not throwing in 3. A little concerned. Now I look at them and go, well, they're definitely a playoff team. I mean, definitely. And they're going to be there, and they're going to be fighting with Detroit and Minnesota in that division. I think they're clearly better than the Bears. I think they are a Super Bowl contender. I don't know that there are too many players that would take my opinion from fringe playoff teams to Super Bowl contender outside of the quarterback. There's probably a half dozen guys in the league I feel that way about. He's one of them. I mean, he can single-handedly wreck a game. I always think back to Von Miller with the Broncos in 2015 where they won the Super Bowl with no offense because Von Miller basically just destroyed everybody for a month. And Parsons is that level of player where you could just have a game with him where you're better than the Packers, but it doesn't matter because he has 3 sacks and 5 quarterback hits and 2 strip sacks. I mean, he's that level of player. I do. I think the Packers now firmly belong in the conversation of, hey, they could make a run in January.
Matt Verderame is our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. He joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. We expect the Kansas City Chiefs to be in that list of Super Bowl contenders yet another season, Matt. When you evaluate the Chiefs coming into 2025, my thought has been they may not win as many games as they did last year, but I think they have a chance to be better and maybe even a lot better if some of their young players take big steps forward. What is your evaluation? Where do you come down on where the Chiefs stand in the AFC? Obviously, they kind of feel like the team to beat because nobody's done it except for Cincinnati in 21, but yeah. Where do they come into this year for you, and how do you evaluate this roster vis-a-vis the other rosters in recent seasons that have gone to the Super Bowl?
Well, to your point, I mean, they're a bad half of football against the Bengals in 2021. From us sitting here talking about them going for the 7-peat in the AFC. I mean, that's what this team has done for more than a half decade now. I would agree completely with what you said. Do I think they're going to win 15 games again? No. It's impossible. No team's ever won 15 games back-to-back years. To my knowledge, doing this off the top of my head, I don't think maybe there's like 1 or 2 teams that have won 14 games back-to-back years. So I don't think they'll do that. I have them pegged for like 13 wins. I think that's what they are. I think they're like a 13-win team. I think that the floor, as long as Mahomes is healthy, is like 12. The ceiling's probably 14. But they're better. Their roster's better. Once Rice is back, it's a much better receiving room. Look, they're not great at running back, but if Pacheco's healthy, they're better. Even if that's just average, it's better than what it was a year ago. But look, I've said this all offseason, and I'll stand by it. This entire thing comes down to the left side of that offensive line. If they're good on the left side of this line, they're going back to the Super Bowl again. Like they're better than everybody else. If they can block, they're going to win most of the games that they play, even against really good teams, because they have all the weaponry. You know it's bags. You know the defense is going to be good. I like the corners. I like the pass rush. I'd love for them to have one more guy up front, but there's a lot of teams that would ask for Jones, Menahu, and Karlaftis, and they'd be pretty happy with that. So, anyway, it's back. They'll scheme up pressure. But I think it's the left side of the line. It's Simmons and it's Kingsley. And if that side holds up, we saw, and it's a preseason game, I get it. We saw that game against the Bears where they lit them up like a Christmas tree. I mean, Mahomes was a drop Kareem Hunt pass away from throwing for $175 and 2 touchdowns in a quarter. So, I just look at them and go, man, if they block for that guy, good luck. Good luck trying to beat that thing.
Who's the most important guy on defense for improvement on that side of the ball? Because it felt like they did take a little bit of a step back on that side in 2024 after probably having the best defense in the Mahomes era in 23. Who needs to be really good for the Chiefs to take a step back forward on that side?
There's a few guys that jump to mind. I think if Menahu plays really well, he could be the answer. He's been – this is now his third season. He's never played a full year. Came in, he was suspended for 6 games. And the last year was obviously coming off the torn ACL. He's been a difference maker. And I know, numbers-wise, you look last year, but not really. Go look at their team splits when that guy's on the field and when they're not getting pressure. Like, everything changes. So I think he's an answer. But I would also give you, I think Christian Fulton / Noel Williams, because Fulton usually misses about a month of time during the season in his career, that other corner spot is enormous. They don't need that guy to be great. They need that guy to just be solid. Think, Rashad Breeland. Think Sean Smith from 10 years ago. Like, they just need the guy to be good. Because Watson's a good to very good corner on the other side. And McDuffie is arguably the best corner in football, and if he's not, he's in the top 3. So if they have that, look, I worry a little about safety room. I like Cook, but I think he's more of like a second safety than a guy you kind of hang your whole hat on. But I think they'll do. But if the corners are really good, I think the safeties will be fine. I don't think it's going to become some massive issue. But yeah, I look at that corner spot and a Menahu and see if those guys can play well. I think it's a top 5 defense in the league, top 8 at worst.
The Chiefs play the Chargers Friday night in Brazil in the season opener for both teams. What, to your mind, is the most interesting part of this matchup, the thing that might end up defining this season opener?
Mack against Simmons. I mean, you're talking, look, I get Mack is older. He's in his mid-30s. He is still going to be a Hall of Famer. He's a great player. And he's a smart player. You don't get to this level at this age and still be playing quality football like Mack is without being really, really smart. And that's where, Simmons, it's not just the physical game. Simmons at this point in his life is probably a better athlete than Khalil Mack is. But it's the smarts. It's getting set up. It's understanding leverage and the idea of kind of like a pitcher working his way through the lineup for the third time. It's that idea of, okay, what is this guy trying to accomplish here? And at the pro level, that's so much more important than it is at the other levels, high school, college. If Simmons erases Khalil Mack in this game, I really think the Chargers would need a lot of breaks to go their way to win this game. I just don't think offensively they can do enough. McConkey's terrific, but they really, other than him, don't have any proven weapon on that team that you go, yeah, that guy's a game changer. Like it's a lot of just guys and then the unknown with Amari and Hampton and a bad offensive line outside of Alt. So I think if you're the Chargers, you need to get to Mahomes this game. You've got to hit him. The last time they saw each other, that was the DJ Humphries game, and Mahomes was hit 13 times in that game. It's one of the highest totals all year. If the Chiefs can get him, good protection, and he gets hit 5-6 times, I think the Chiefs win this game going away. If they can't, and Mac is giving Simmons the business, and they're getting pressure inside over Kingsley or Jalon Taylor on the right side, then this looks a lot like last year. And those games were both up for grabs in the fourth quarter.
Matt Verderame joining us here on 580 Sports Talk, our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Back to a broader look at the league, Matt. You've got the Chiefs in that bucket of teams that could win the Super Bowl. You move the Packers into that bucket after the Parsons trade. Who else is in that bucket? Who are the teams where you fill the bucket with the teams you think can win the Super Bowl? You'd be surprised if any team you didn't put in the bucket did win it. Who are, in your mind, those Super Bowl contenders?
I always think it's about a quarter of the league. And you kind of whittle it down as the year goes on. And maybe there's a team that jumps up and surprises you with a lot of young guys. Go, okay, we got to add that. In the AFC, for me, it's really simple. It's Kansas City, it's Buffalo, and it's Baltimore. For me, it's in that order. It's those three teams. Those three teams can win the Super Bowl. I don't believe in Houston. Offensively, they just don't have enough. I don't believe in Denver. I think Denver is a playoff team. I don't think they were a fluke. At the same point, Denver did not beat one legitimate AFC team all year last year. And in fact, in most of those games got pummeled. In the NFC, I think it's a lot more wide open. Look, Philadelphia is awesome. Not taking anything away from them. They're the defending champions for a reason. They smoked Kansas City. They're going to be there. Detroit, Green Bay are two teams. I like Minnesota a lot more than other teams, and I would not be other people. I would not be surprised if they made a run. But can they win the Super Bowl with what is essentially a rookie quarterback? Probably a big ask. So I like Detroit and Green Bay. I like Tampa, and I like the Rams. To me, those 8 teams I look at and go, okay, you could make a case. I think Tampa's actually underrated. I think they're good. Those 8 teams, I could see getting to the Super Bowl. Outside of them, I just think it's tough. Cincinnati's got an unbelievable offense. They have no defense. The Niners have talent, but they're hurt, they're banged up, and they're old. I think those 8 stand above the rest.
Who's the dark horse that you find yourself more and more enamored by as you dig into this 2025 season? A team that's operating off the radar, but you believe has a chance to not only get to the postseason, but maybe make a little noise in January?
Well, I'll give you one from each conference. I don't think this team can win a playoff game necessarily. I think maybe one would be the absolute max. I think New England's really interesting because I think Frank May's really good. And Vrabel is a really good coach. McDaniels is a very good coordinator. He's a terrible head coach. He's a very good coordinator. I love their draft. They have an easy schedule. The Jets, the Dolphins are a quarter of your schedule. Plus, you have a last place schedule. So you're playing Cleveland. You're playing Tennessee. New England could do some serious. Plus, they play the NFC South. New England, there's 8 or 9 games that schedule. You look at it and you're like, man, not only could they, they kind of should win that game. In the NFC, I said it, Minnesota, player for player, if you look at that roster, how many rosters are better than that? They're pretty stacked. Now, again, the big question is McCarthy. I like him. I know from talking to people around Minnesota, they truly believe he's going to be good. I think O'Connell's a great coach. I don't think they can go to the Super Bowl just based on the fact that you're asking a lot out of a first-time starting quarterback. But I would not be shocked if Minnesota's fighting for the division again. I would not be shocked if they win a playoff game or 2. I think the Vikings, I didn't put them in that 8, but they would be the first team out of that for me. I think Minnesota is good, and if McCarthy's good, they could be very interesting.
Who's going to be the worst team in the NFL this year, Matt?
I think it's New Orleans. Cleveland, I can at least sit there and go, all right, look, defensively, I think they're going to be good. Stefanski's a good coach. I look at New Orleans, and I'm not saying Kellen Moore won't be a good coach, but I have no idea if he's going to be a good coach. And, he was the last hire. Now, part of that was over in the Super Bowl, but I think part of that was look, he wasn't on a short list for some teams. They even were looking. And you look at them and just say, their best players are old. DeMar Davis is old. Cam Jordan is old. Alvin Kamara for a running back is old. I love Chris Olave's game, but he's unfortunately been hurt a lot. And they have no quarterback. As much as I don't believe in Joe Flacco in Cleveland, you can at least make a case there's going to be 4 or 5 games this year where he looks pretty good. I have no idea what you're getting at in New Orleans. Spencer Rattler and Jake Hayner and Tyler Shuck, that team has the feel of a team that we're going to be sitting there in the middle of October and everybody's going to be like, hey, they're open for business. Who do you want? I feel like New Orleans is like a 2 or 3 win team.
Matt Verderame is our NFL insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. And Matt, we're going to leave here on this. Just a couple of real quick rapid fire questions for you. The league MVP will be who?
I will take Burrow. I think they make the playoffs, and I think he's going to throw for about 5,000 yards because he has to.
The offensive player of the year will be blank.
God. Jalon Daniels.
The defensive player of the year in the NFL for 2025.
Micah Parsons.
The impact rookie. Well, we won't make you pick an offensive or defensive rookie of the year. Just the rookie you think has the biggest impact on the 2025 season.
I think the best rookie is going to be Genty. I think the most impactful is Josh Simmons.
And lastly, who is beating who in Super Bowl 60?
I'm terrified of the NFC team because I'm 37 and know what a back injury is, but I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Rams. I think the Chiefs are the best team. They've been the best team forever, it feels like. And in the NFC, I really like the Rams. If Stafford can stay healthy, I love their front. I love the coach. So give me Kansas City over Los Angeles and Santa Clara and February.
Matt Verderame, Sports Illustrated, SI.com. The Matt Verderame Show on Patreon as well. Joins us every week on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always a pleasure. Enjoy the games. We'll talk next Monday.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We'll take a break, come back. We will wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk next. Our thanks again to Matt Verderame for joining us, our NFL insider. Chiefs over Rams is his Super Bowl pick. We'll give you ours on Thursday when we're out live at Prairie Band Casino and Prairie Band Sportsbook for our remote broadcast. It is 3 days until the Chiefs kick off the 2025 NFL season against the Chargers. And that means that we have arrived at number 3 in our Chiefs countdown to kickoff. And of course, that's a retired number. That is Jan Stenerud. And Jan Stenerud is the greatest Norwegian player in the history of the National Football League, though spare a thought for Halvor Hagen, who is second best. He played for the Cowboys, Patriots, and Bills in the 60s and 70s. Stenerud is either the best or second best foreign-born player in Chiefs history. It's either him or Christian Okoye, and Stenerud is in the Hall of Fame. Okoye wasn't a kicker, so maybe brought a little bit more value as a rusher, but also Stenerud's got longevity in his favor. Argue amongst yourselves. Better foreign-born Chief, Okoye or Stenerud? We'll take a break, come back in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll talk Big 12 football from week 1, and Michael Swain will join us from Fog.net for Jayhawk Weekly. Plus, What is Wrong with You on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday. Our return from the long weekend. 2 more hours hang out with you today here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. And as we mentioned on our streaming channels, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you until 6 o'clock. We will hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network at that time. The Royals and Angels open a 3-game series at Kauffman Stadium tonight, 6 o'clock. The pregame coverage, first pitch at 6:40. Michael Lorenzen on the mound for the Royals tonight. Mitch Ferris, former 14th round pick out of Wingate University, making his major league debut on the mound for the Angels tonight. And we have breaking Royals news to get you from within the last half hour. This is breaking Royals news. Vinny Pasquantino has cornrows now.
I thought it was actually something breaking.
No, it is Vinny Pasquantino has cornrows now. Here is photographic evidence on our YouTube channel. If you are watching the show on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube or on Facebook, WIBW News, that is Vinny Pasquantino, and those are cornrows, looking like Malibu's Most Wanted. Apparently, and I haven't listened to the clip, but he explained that Salvador Perez encouraged him to do this. And listen, look, if they're rally cornrows here, the Royals rip off 5 of 6 on the homestand from here, I'm all for it. But Vinny Pasquantino has cornrows now, so that's the thing that you needed to know, and we are bringing that news to you. It is not exclusive to us, but it is breaking news and new to many. Vinny information for you on the program today. We'll talk some more about tonight's game, set the table for it before we do hand things off at 6 o'clock. We've also got some college football to discuss. We'll look back at a week 1 of the Big 12 that frankly left a little to be desired, at least in the big spotlight opportunities for the Big 12 to earn wins and impress the college football public. We'll figure out, though, if any of the conclusions that we're jumping to, we're pulling out the jump to conclusions, Matt. You've seen Office Space, right, Spencer?
Yes.
Yeah, we're pulling out the jump to conclusions, Matt, because it's full of conclusions that you can jump to after week 1's Big 12 games. And we'll see if we feel like any of them is a proper reaction or an overreaction. That used to be a segment we did around here, overreaction or proper reaction. It's a long time since we've done that segment. That's a relic of the Jake LeBon era. We'll talk some Big 12 football. We'll also talk specifically about the Kansas Jayhawks this hour with Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael will join us at the bottom of this hour for Jayhawk Weekly. We do that every Tuesday on the program. I know if you tuned in, you heard Matt Verderame, probably threw you off a little bit. You probably got to thinking, wait a minute. They did Good, Bad, Ugly, and they did Matt Verderame. Must be Monday. Did I get the calendar wrong? Is this Groundhog Day? What is happening? No. We just pushed some Monday favorites back into Tuesday from the long weekend, and then we're back into a Tuesday rhythm with Jayhawk Weekly. We'll do Random Question Tuesday later on as well. We got a new week, a new month, in fact, of What Is Wrong With You to get started as well coming up this hour. You can interact with us via our text line, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. You can also comment in the YouTube chat. We have a live chat on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. It is live throughout the live show, and we appreciate those of you who interact not just with us, but with your fellow listeners in the chat as well. Again, the name of the YouTube channel is 580 Sports Talk. We picked up some new subscribers today. I told the listeners earlier, and Spencer, this will be a team decision, so we'll loop Brendan in on this, but we'll do another stretch goal at 900. We'll set it at 900, and we'll do a stretch goal, and I have an idea, but I'm not going to share it until we're all together again.
All right.
Okay? But I have an idea. I think it's a good one. And 900 is the next number for us to get to. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe today. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Let's talk some college football. Week 1 of the Big 12 is in the books. And at just about every opportunity the Big 12 had to make some noise, to make a statement in a notable Power 4 game, they stumbled. Go back to Thursday night, Cincinnati lost to Nebraska at Arrowhead Stadium. Friday night, Colorado lost at home to Georgia Tech. And that was the exact game, I think, if you followed Colorado, you kind of knew was going to happen in that game. The exact game you would have expected, other than the fact that Georgia Tech turned the ball over 3 times on their first 3 possessions. If you throw that out, the rest of the game unfolded pretty much exactly like you would have expected it to unfold. It was dominance in the trenches by Georgia Tech. And it was maybe the funniest 1-minute drill in the history of college football. Did you see how that game ended?
I did not.
Okay,
I did not watch very much college football.
You were in transit on Friday night. You were going out. You were heading back out to the. No,
Northeast. I was sleeping.
Oh, you were sleeping.
You had to be at the airport. At 3 a.m.
You flew Saturday. Okay, fair enough. Anyhow, for anybody who missed it, Georgia Tech scored with just over a minute left. They take the 27-20 lead on Colorado. Colorado gets the ball back with a minute 1 and 2 timeouts. I think it's a minute 1 second. Just about a minute and 2 timeouts. And they ended up having to throw a Hail Mary from midfield, and they still had all their timeouts. They got as far as midfield and had to throw a Hail Mary, and they had both of their timeouts that they started the drive with. At one point, on a 3rd and short, Caden Salter scrambled, and he had a ton of room to run up the middle, but inexplicably just started sprinting to the opposite sideline. Like he was on the right hash, and he booked it for the far sideline. It cost him like 15 seconds. He almost didn't get the first down. It was incredible. Just everybody's brains turned to mashed potatoes, except for Pat Shurmur, whose brains have always been mashed potatoes. And it was a very Colorado way to lose that football game. But anyway, it was a Big 12 team. It was a big opportunity for them, and they got beat. Maybe people missed it if they were watching Auburn put belt to you-know-what on Baylor in Waco. Baylor looking entirely too light in the pants to handle Auburn's running game. And it's kind of weird. Dave Aranda's never really turned out a great defense at Baylor. Just a little odd that was his stock and trade. And in his time as a head coach, Baylor's never had a truly great defense. And early returns on this one, not particularly strong. So that was another missed opportunity for the Big 12 in a big game, so to speak. TCU rode pretty hard for the league, though. That's why I'm wearing a TCU hat today. Shout out to TCU. They represented for the Big 12. They put it on the Belichick coached Tar Heels in North Carolina. That was awfully impressive.
That was a very, I thought we were going to get the best game of the weekend.
Man.
After the first 2 drives, one from each team.
Freddie Kitchens can script it. I'll tell you what, but
yeah.
He gets off script and it gets ugly.
I mean, I thought that was going to be the game of the weekend right there.
That's college football for you, though. So many teams oh, wow, they came out. They looked great on their first drive. Cool. Let's see what the unscripted drives look like. Yeah. They almost never look that good. Anyway.
With everyone in the world in attendance there last night.
Yeah, a lot of famous people. Jordan left at halftime. I think he flew over Kenan Stadium by the time the third quarter was underway. Wait, Jordan was out of there. Anyway, we'll get to the TCU thing in a bit, but we do have a list of Big 12 Week 1 conclusions, and we will determine whether these conclusions that we have jumped to are reactions or overreactions. And we begin with what I think is an entirely reasonable conclusion to have arrived at in the aftermath of a 38-35 victory over North Dakota at Bill Snyder Family Stadium on Saturday. K-State is in trouble. That is the resounding, and again, I say reasonable conclusion that many people have drawn having watched K-State just barely eke out a win, needing a last-minute drive, needing a stop inside of 2 minutes, and then a last-minute drive to beat a North Dakota team that won just 5 games last year. Although, really, broadly, if we learned anything from Week 1 of college football, it's take whatever a team did in 2024 and just throw it entirely out the window. None of what you did even a year ago matters anymore because you can just completely overhaul your roster, especially if you've got a new coach like North Dakota does. So to diminish them as a 5-win team, I think misses the mark. But that was still a team K-State was favored to win by 25.5 points. I believe somebody on this show, not important who, but it was me, referred to that spread as an insult. And it was to North Dakota, who led that game in the final 2 minutes. K-State puts the drive together. Avery Johnson, really good on the final drive. Made some big boy throws, had a big 25-yard run that set up the 6-yard touchdown pass to Joe Jackson with about 45 or so seconds left, and won the game 38-35. Chris Kleiman spoke about this after the game, that he has talked to other coaches who have taken their teams to Ireland for week one, and that those coaches have told him, look, you're going to have a hangover game. It's going to happen. Whether it's your first game back from Ireland or your second or your third, you're going to have a game where you're just a little hungover. For K-State to have had theirs on Saturday, on the same day on which Iowa State emphatically did not have a hangover game, dispatching South Dakota 55-7, doesn't look good. Doesn't reflect very well. The battle in the trenches was, for the better part of the night, won resoundingly by the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota. And like I said earlier, if you just watched the third quarter, like if you didn't get to watch any of the first half, and you had just gotten to a TV at the start of the third quarter, and if for whatever reason ESPN's score bug was broken, and so you didn't know that K-State came out for the third quarter trailing 21-17, and you just watched that 15 minutes of football, you would have said, oh, yeah, this is exactly what I would have expected this Kansas State team, with our prior knowledge of who we think this K-State team is, against an FCS team. That's what it was supposed to look like. 2 3-and-outs, 2 easy touchdown drives. That was the football game I expected to see. That was a game where, a quarter where K-State made halftime adjustments, got to some good stuff on offense, had their way with North Dakota on defense. I thought the whole game was going to look like that. Certainly thought the fourth quarter would look like that. It has not been often that Joe Klanderman, who I think is a very good defensive coordinator and a very good mid-game adjustment maker as the defensive coordinator for Kansas State. It is very rare that I have felt like he got pantsed in the second half of a game. He got pantsed in the fourth quarter by North Dakota. And Chris Kleiman was very clear about why. Like, you talk about a coach who understands exactly what he did not get out of his team and what his team needs to do better. They laid it out very clearly in his post-game press conference and in his Monday media availability. Laid out very clearly what needs to improve for this K-State team. But they got out-adjusted, out-schemed in the fourth quarter, really on both sides. And they came out of the locker room seemingly a little unready to play. They fell behind multiple times in the first half. And this is starting to become a worrying trend for Kansas State, where they do not come out of the locker room seemingly sharp. They do not come out seemingly ready to go. And that is where I am the most frustrated right now with this Kansas State team. Is it's great that they can get in the locker room and say, okay, this is where we got to clean up. We know exactly what's wrong. Let's clean it up. And then more often than not, they do. They've been a really good second half team, particularly second half defense over the years. Joe Klanderman deserves a lot of credit for that. But how about being a good first half team? One time. How about being a good first half team? How about putting it on somebody from the start of the game? Coming out and putting together a scoring drive and putting your foot on somebody's throat. That's what I need to see from K-State to really take them seriously as a Big 12 contender. Because listen, I am of the mind that to say that K-State is in trouble, that their season is on the brink after a obvious hangover game, is a little bit of an overreaction. But if they are going to be the team we think they can be, and I say we, myself, and anybody else who predicted that they would win the conference, if they're going to be that team, they got to play some good first halves. They should beat Army on Saturday. Army did lose to an FCS team on Saturday. They should beat Army on Saturday. I predict they will be ready to go for that one. I still think a 4-1 start is pretty doable before they get into the teeth of their schedule. A 1-0 start in conference play against UCF in that first conference game. But they're a long way, certainly, from being the team that we all thought they were going to be. A really long way from being that team. And it starts with coming out of the locker room a little bit more ready. because I did not consider that was a weakness of this team until probably second half of last season it started feeling that way, and now they've started this season the same way, that they just do not come out ready to go, and that has to improve. All right, let's jump to some other conclusions from the first weekend of the Big 12. How about this one? Utah is the conference favorite. This was not a game I included in my accounting of Big 12 teams against Power 4 competition because it kicked off at 11 o'clock Eastern time. So the broader college football media probably didn't stay up all night to watch Utah against UCLA. And UCLA, it should be noted, probably stinks. Deshaun Foster may not be real good at this. Nico Iamaleava may not be actually good. They might be not a very good football team and not a very good litmus test, but still, Utah went on the road and they looked like Utah. They look like the Utah program that you've been accustomed to seeing for years with Kyle Whittingham. They looked nasty on defense. They looked physical in the trenches. And in Devin Dampier, they very clearly are dramatically improved at quarterback. In fact, there is not another team in this conference who is more improved at quarterback than Utah is. Low bar, but they have cleared it dramatically with what Dampier did on Saturday. It's very clear that Utah is good, and that any conversation that did not include them as a contender in this league was probably mislaid. I'm not ready to make them the favorite, but they are definitely, they showed me enough in that game to put them in that picture. Because Dampier does look like the real deal. That offense does look like it is potent, like it is explosive. They might have the best offensive line in the Big 12. They got 2 NFL guys at the tackle spots, maybe 2 first-rounders at tackle. So, yeah, I think, maybe paid Utah a little bit of short shrift. And it's one thing to go beat a team on the road, even if a team's not very good, but it's quite another to dominate them. And Utah just toyed with UCLA. So, yeah, we may have underrated Utah. Another one, Baylor was overrated. I do not think that is an overreaction. I think, like I said just a little bit ago, still waiting for defensive genius Dave Aranda to have a good defense as the head coach of the Baylor Bears. Hasn't happened yet, and this group doesn't look like it's going to be the first. Not if what Auburn did to them is any indication. Now, this is a credit to Auburn, who the first 2 seasons under Hugh Freeze has not had the kind of running quarterback option threat that Hugh Freeze likes to have in his offense. Well, Jackson Arnold is that guy. I'm not sure how much of a passing threat he is, but very clearly he is at home in that scheme as a runner, and he diced up the Baylor defense. Auburn could do whatever they wanted to do. Baylor on offense looked good. They've got speed. Sawyer Robertson is undeniably excellent. He threw for, I think, like 400 yards. But
419
yards. They couldn't get a stop.
He did throw 48 times, though.
That is a lot of attempts. That's what happens when you're playing from behind all night.
Yeah.
But this was my big question about Baylor coming into this season, is how much of the preseason hype for Baylor was predicated on them putting up big points against the back half of the Big 12 in the second half of last year. And early indications are that is probably what we're going to see. A team that can score, a team that can move the ball, a team with a lot of speed on offense, but a team that's going to be in some track meets, a team that's going to struggle against bigger, more physical teams up front, teams that want to run the ball, teams that have that kind of an identity. And those teams are all over the Big 12. So, yes, do we need to pump the brakes on Baylor? Absolutely. I don't think that's an overreaction. I thought that was really troubling that they were bowled over that easily at home against an Auburn team that, look, Arnold was great, but I still don't think that's a very good SEC team. That's a team that Baylor, if they're a real contender in the league, should have been able to beat at home, and they didn't, and really never really had a chance. Last one. TCU is who we thought Baylor was. I do not think this is an overreaction. I think what we saw from TCU last night against North Carolina was incredibly impressive. They looked fast on both sides of the ball. Josh Hoover was throwing dimes. They were physical in the trenches. Now, they were going up against a coach who has never had to game plan for a spread offense like they play in college football, and it shows. Like, they were a little overwhelmed on that on that North Carolina side. Bill Belichick standing over like, what the hell is this sorcery?
He
It's
also
just
didn't
spread college football offense, baby. Welcome to the big league.
He also looked so shocked when his own team scored on their first drive.
He did. He did look a little surprised.
Freeze frame.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He didn't look like anything. Honestly, he looked like he was surprised that there was a football game going on. Like he just kind of stumbled on a football game. No, I think TCU basically did what Baylor did last year. They had that hot finish to the season. I don't think there's any reason why that can't be the team we think that Baylor is and a real Big 12 contender. I do think we've got to take TCU a lot more seriously after that performance.
I think it was good, too. You see them come out in the third quarter, and they don't take their foot off the gas. That is always the mark of a good team, is when, hey, we are up 20-7. Like, they're still in this game. This game's not over yet. Let's just stomp on the pedal.
MPM in the YouTube comment says Utah and TCU are the best teams of the Big 12, followed by Texas Tech and Iowa State. That is a reasonable reaction to have had through 1 week of football. There's no question that as far as the Big 12 goes, Utah, TCU, and yeah, I'd throw Iowa State in there for their win against K-State in Dublin and what they did. They didn't have a hangover game on Saturday. Maybe they will this week. And K-State will beat Army by 3 touchdowns, and we're back to square one with both of those teams. But certainly those have been the 3 best. Texas Tech beat Pine Bluff 67 to whatever in the rain. They played 8-minute quarters. I don't think we learned anything about Texas Tech that we didn't already suspect, that they were going to be good enough to pound Pine Bluff. But, Utah, TCU, Iowa State, those are the 3 right now that are carrying the banner for the Big 12. No question. We'll take a timeout, come back, first round of What Is Wrong With You for the month, and then we'll talk to Michael Swain of Fog.net for Jayhawk Weekly. That's coming up here on 580 Sports Talk. our first What Is Wrong With You for the month of September. In case you missed it, Operation Bear Claw, the folks who ran a scam, had somebody dress up in a bear suit and scratch up their luxury vehicles and got busted when the video made it very clear that it was a person in a bear suit, not an actual bear. They won the month of August. So that is your August champion, our 8th advancer into the Tournament of Failed Champions. Who will be our September champ? Well, the road begins here with 2 new stories today. Spencer, go first.
Yeah, we're combining the show here, the topic of the show, to sports, and one of the best kind of what is wrong with you stories.
Okay.
Scam and fraud stories.
We do love a scam.
Former NFL cornerback Daryl Buster, is it Skrine?
It is Screen.
Has been arrested in Roswell, Georgia on 18 charges connected to what police describe as extensive financial fraud scheme. Authorities say he is also wanted in Canada on similar charges. Roswell police began investigating him in July after victims reported being financially exploited. Investigators determined he was targeting women through online dating platforms, telling them fabricated stories about financial troubles and promising repayment from his NFL annuity. Instead, detectives say he used the money to fund a lavish lifestyle, including Airbnb rentals, travel, and gift cards. Police have identified 3 victims in Wisconsin, North Carolina, and New York, with losses totaling around $300,000. Detectives believe there may be additional victims across the U.S. He was arrested Wednesday morning at a home in Roswell, Georgia. He's facing multiple charges, including deposit account fraud, identity fraud, financial transaction, card fraud, theft by taking, and criminal attempt to commit theft. In addition, he is a wanted fugitive in Canada for the same thing. Durham Regional Police arrested him in August of 2023 in a $100,000 check fraud scheme. He was released on bail in April of 2024 with a GPS monitoring, but removed his device and fled back to the U.S. The police say.
So this is probably a scam people have run before. Like, oh, I'm an old NFL player and I've got NFL money, but I'm out of money right now. But I'll pay you back because I got NFL money.
Yeah.
Except they've probably not even been the NFL player. This is actually the NFL player in question, the ex-NFL player running that same scam through this online dating platform. I saw somebody online say, hey, which dating platform was it? Just curious. What I want to meet these women. Apparently, they are rather easy to part with their money. He's a real scumbag. Multinational fraudster. Buster Screen. He played corner, I believe.
Yeah, he played for the Browns, Jets, Bears, 49ers, and Titans. He had under 600 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, and 10 interceptions.
How about that? Career. And a lot of counts of check fraud you're about to be able to add to his Pro Football Reference page. For my story today, we're going across the pond. We're going to Leek in Staffordshire in England, and a woman decided she'd have herself a fun time at a children's fun day, like a fair. She climbed on top of a parked car and took off her top. They claim the woman stripped off her top to reveal her bra and danced inappropriately on the stage where performances were taking place. It is then claimed that she got on the roof of a black SUV where she continued to make suggestive movements in front of children. Eyewitnesses allege the same woman also drove around the recreational area in the vehicle. Officers were called to a scene. It is claimed the incident lasted more than an hour. One mom told Stoke-on-Trent Live, that's the news source here, she was on top of the car shouting obscenities and dancing. She refused to come down and took her top off. They waited for a police officer to come. She then drove around the wreck in her car right next to the play area. Another added on social media, she was dancing and twerking very inappropriately in front of young children. Mums were having to cover up their children's eyes with their hands. The PCSOs practically rugby tackled her off stage, and everyone cheered as she walked away. It is not yet known whether any arrests were made. I don't think that entertainment was part of the children's fun day in Leek. Yeah, she just wanted to be part of the show.
I wonder if was she high?
I don't know. They don't say. You don't have any charges filed. We don't have a statement from Staffordshire police. But yeah, we don't know if she was under the influence. We can suspect that she is.
I would have to. I don't. Why would you just?
A texter from the 785 says, "Hey, let's relax here and see what she looks like before we judge," which is very funny. Not as funny as the texter misspelling the word "like" 3 times. We got Pime, Lime, and Loke, which is really funny.
Didn't even attempt to come in and get the right
didn't
one.
even try it a 4th time. I respect it, texter. Yeah, we got the Children's Fun Day twerker, or we've got Buster Screen. Who we got?
I think I'm going to lean my story because he's a multinational fugitive and he keeps doing it.
Yeah, he has kept doing it over and over again. Yeah, we'll go with Buster. We'll go with Buster Screen as our What Is Wrong With You. Moving on to tomorrow here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, talking Jayhawks with Michael Swain on 580 WIBW. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael joins us following a 46-7 win for the Jayhawks over Wagner on Friday night. And that was the kind of taking care of business performance I think everybody was kind of hoping to see from this Kansas team. They dominated the game early and often and got the starters off their feet pretty early.
Yeah, they did. They did. And honestly, even within that, you could still point out, I think a few periods throughout the game where you're like, man, yeah, this KU wasn't necessarily, firing on all cylinders. So it's one of those where I'm sure coming out of the game, they had a really good film session, offensively for KU, going over some of the things in the first half where, multiple drives stalled. What led to that? That's the question. And then a breakdown on 4th down, what led to that? So it was a good game for KU in that, they got to play a lot of players. I think it was 80 maybe players, I want to say, that took the field in that game. Like, it was a lot. And you're able to get those guys reps. And then you're also able to, I think, get the starters out there and have them learn a little bit too. So overall, I think it's a positive first step for KU. You look at the Fresno State game and then kind of building into that Wagner game, another good step in the right direction. Now I think this week's really the week where KU will be tested and we'll see what they're about.
Jalon Daniels really spreading the ball out. We were talking really all offseason about this brand new wide receiver group and trying to get guys involved and who was going to sort of emerge from the pack. And we've seen Jalon really spread it out. Cam Pickett was the week 0 star. He had another touchdown on Saturday. Manuel Henderson had a big game with 130 yards on just 6 catches and 2 scores. The peak and Deshaun Hanukkah found the end zone for the first time. That distribution of the ball to a bunch of different targets, how important is that early in the season for Jalon to get that rapport with a bunch of different guys?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think, if you go back to like the 2023 season, and when you think about how good the offense was, or even 2022, it was getting the ball to a bunch of different receivers. You think about kind of 2023, you had Mason Fairchild, but you had, Luke Grimm, Quentin Skinner, Lawrence Arnold, Trevor Wilson. Daniel Highshaw was a factor out of the backfield. Devin Neal, like the amount of guys that were touching the ball every game was super good. And it's, then you go back to last year, and I think it was a little bit of a different situation where LJ Arnold was kind of invisible for most of the year. It was really Luke Grimm and Devin Neal, and then occasionally a Quentin Skinner would pop up. But KU didn't get anything from the tight ends. Like I mentioned, Arnold wasn't really a factor. And now this year, you're seeing KU get back to some of that stuff. And so I think it's really important that Jalon gets rapport with a lot of these guys. I think it's important also that those guys feel like they're involved, right? The last thing I think you want if you're a wide receivers coach or an offensive coordinator is you come at a non-conference play and you got guys pissed off that they've only gotten 2 targets all year. And the nice part for KU right now is you can go up and down the list. Doug Emillion had a couple touches. Keaton Quebec has a touchdown under his belt. Cam Pickett and Emmanuel Henderson, those are KU's 2 best wide receivers. They'll play a lot. But, Levi Wentz got targeted on some screens. Bryson Canty's starting to come along. So you can look at that wide receiver room, and guys are getting touches. And then, of course, at tight end, Carson Brune has played the most out of anybody. And then you've also obviously got, Bowden Gruen and what he can offer you as a receiver, and Deshaun Hanukkah. Like, overall, KU just has so many people that they can go to in these settings. And I think putting so much on tape right now is super important, right? Showing that you are going to target anybody and everyone on any given down. That's going to force defenses to be on their P's and Q's, where they can't just hone in on one guy or 2 guys and say, you lock them down, well, all of a sudden this offense becomes nothing. You can't really say that, because the other guys are showing that when the ball's thrown their way, they're going to make a play. And I think that's really, really important going into a week like this, and even going into Big 12 play, that other defenses have to factor in that on any given snap, any one of those guys that's running a route could get the football.
Michael Swain of Fog.net is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk. This is Jayhawk Weekly on the program. We do it every Tuesday at this time. Obviously, it was late in the game. It was garbage time. But what did you make of Isaiah Marshall's performance at quarterback?
He looked like you'd expect. Athletically, he's always been supreme. You go back to his track times in high school, he was running sub 11 second 100 meters. And that's times you'd expect for a wide receiver. And coming out of the summer, he was one of the fastest players, or I think the fastest player, in kind of the mids category. Good vertical, right? Just a good athlete. And you saw that. Scrambled a bunch, made some really good plays on the run, had a couple good throws. But man, I think the thing that, coaches will harp on is a procedural penalty, right? You got to be able to run the offense and make sure everyone's lined up. It doesn't matter if you're with the 1s, 2s, or 3s. That's on the quarterback. And I think that's something that, the coaches are going to harp on with him about, because he's got the talent, right? There's no question about that. But can you be consistent in the way you run the offense? That's what's going to allow him to see time on the field beyond, a situation like this, right? He wants to be the starting quarterback at Kansas next year. You got to be able to show the coaches that when you are out there, right, that you can play clean football. And I think Isaiah had some really good flashes, and I think it's stuff that the coaches too are going to go back and say, hey man, this is the stuff that is the marginal difference in a quarterback battle. So I think it was really encouraging, right? It's our first time getting to see him. There's probably a good chance that's our last time we'll see him this year. So I think that's why these games are always interesting. You get the chance to get a look at some of these players who are coming through and, could eventually maybe one day be a starter or the future of the program. So I thought it was really interesting kind of getting to see him up close and personal.
One of the things we talked about as we kind of turn towards a bit of a negative coming out of the weekend, one of the things we talked about following week 0 is how impressed we were with the linebacking group for the Jayhawks. And while that linebacking group now has taken a bit of a hit, Bengali Kamara suffered a non-contact injury in practice, didn't go Friday, isn't on the depth chart for Saturday, and Lance Light on that one. So KU looks a little short at linebacker right now with Kamara out and with Joseph Sept Jr. still not on the depth chart. How big a concern is that both short and long term for KU right now?
Oh, man, super big. Super big, because I think we talked about over the course of the summer and camp, right, how much I love the depth of the linebacker room and how much KU could really go 3 deep. Well, half of KU's linebackers who would be on that 3 deep are now hurt. Joseph Sept has like a brace on his forearm, and he's unlikely to play. We'll see about Jason Gilliam. And then Bengali Kamara, like, it's just a huge bummer for KU that you look to this linebacker room and said, man, finally KU's going to have some depth and athleticism at linebacker. And here you are going into week 2, week 3, and that unit is depleted. So a lot's going to come down to the way Jalon Kamara plays on that. Trey Lathan has shown what he can do. I think he's been awesome. And very just quietly putting together 2 really good performances. And now I think on Saturday, it's going to come down to the young guy, John, right? Probably going to get his first start, or I guess technically second start, but, first, what you'd hope would be a full game. And for him, can he limit those kind of big mistakes? It was interesting hearing DK McDonald kind of go to bat for him today and say that, it's the type of hit that he had that you don't want him making, because obviously it's the letter of the law, but also it's one of those where he doesn't like that John got disqualified from a game for making a hit like that. So I think for him, you look at this game and say, man, John is going to belong on the field with Missouri, right? Athletically and physically, like, he is going to belong. It's all going to come down to between the ears. And can he be fundamentally sound? Can he be in the right spots? Because he's got all the talent in the world. And so KU's got 2 linebackers there that I think, again, athletically can't compete. It's just going to come down to really limiting mistakes and playing sound football. And so depth-wise, right, there are concerns, because now you're looking at Logan Brantley kind of being your 3rd linebacker, and consistency has been the thing that I think people around the program have been waiting for from him. And so you're going into this game where you got a mobile quarterback, Missouri's got a talented running back, and they've got a good offensive line. Like, you need your linebackers to play really well in this game. And you're going into it looking at it and saying, man, you've got really 2 guys who are going to be playing their first real games against Power 4 teams, and you need them to play well. That's not necessarily a huge recipe for success that I think you would have tabbed right at the start of camp, where you're saying, yeah, you want to go into Missouri playing a redshirt sophomore in his first game against a Power 4 team and a redshirt freshman in his second career start. That's not what you're thinking, right, at the start of camp. But that's the situation KU's in, and they've got to make the most of it.
Couple more questions for Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us for Jayhawk Weekly on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Border War Saturday. Been a long time since we've had one of these. Everybody on both sides, KU and Mizzou, super fired up for this one at Faurot Field. Obviously, it's a big step up in competition for both teams. KU's played Fresno State, and who doesn't look to be very good, and Wagner, Mizzou opened with Central Arkansas. So it's a big step up in competition for both teams. That being said, in what way do you expect Missouri to be the most challenging to Kansas? What is the area where you think they are maybe the strongest and pose the stiffest test?
Yeah, I think you got to look at their defensive line, and it's an area where, man, you really got to credit the Missouri coaching staff. They have put a lot of money into it, and that's how you are successful, right? You got to put money into positions, and that's what they've done, man. You look at that 2 deep, it's a bunch of former 4-stars, and honestly, it's a bunch of former top 150 recruits. And so, talent-wise, man, like, they are going to get after it, and it's going to be a huge challenge for KU's offensive line, right? We talked, I think, last week about the offensive line and how it's kind of a work in progress. Well, man, progress really needs to happen between Wagner and Saturday, because KU is going to be tested physically. And I think a lot of it is going to come down to the offense and the scheme that the coaches come up with. to really kind of put players in a position to be successful. That's what stands out to me. I think Missouri defensively, right, defensive line, and then offensively, man, KU against a mobile quarterback, it's not necessarily been a recipe for success. You look at Sam Levitt, you can look at Avery Johnson. Quarterbacks have had success who are mobile against Kansas' defense in the past. Now, I think DK McDonald would probably tell you, well, man, I wasn't calling the plays. This wasn't my scheme. But still, it's something KU has had issues with. And so I think they're going to have to find ways to really limit Prabula and what he can do with his legs. Arm talent-wise, man, you watch what he did against Central Arkansas. He can put the ball on players down the field. And I think that's going to be a tough question for KU's young cornerbacks to have to answer. Can you stick close to some of these fast wide receivers, especially on some of those deep routes? And I think quarterback-wise, man, I think Prabula is going to be one of the better ones KU's going to play in the first half of the season at least, right? Because then you get in the second half of the year, you play Rocco Beck, you play Avery Johnson. But I think in terms of the first kind of 6 games, this is the best quarterback KU's going to play. And I think it's going to be a huge test for the defense in terms of the mobility that Prabula has, but also just in terms of the arm talent and his ability to make a lot of really nice throws.
I've seen Kansas as a 7-point underdog in this game. Does that spread seem about right to you, or do you think that Kansas has the ability to go to Columbia and keep it a lot closer than that, maybe even win it outright?
Yeah, I think those are 2 different questions. I think KU has the ability to go in and win this game. I was surprised it's not 10. That's just my take. I think there are a lot of questions for KU that have to be answered, and I think maybe someone that follows the program closely, maybe I'm too in the weeds with it. But for myself going into this game, I kind of thought it'd be in that kind of 10-point range. I think in reality, if you told me 6.5 is the number I have to pick, I might pick Missouri to cover. If you said it's 10.5, I might pick KU to cover. I think this is the kind of game where it's kind of going to be in that, 31-21, 31-23, like something in that kind of range for KU. And I think for KU to win this game, it's going to come down to offensively, can you keep Missouri off balance? Can you really keep that defensive line from getting upfield? And then, defensively for KU, it's going to come down to, I think, the way that front 6 plays. Can KU stop the run and stop Prabula from extending plays with his legs? If KU can make him a pocket passer, you're making him one-dimensional, you're making the offense one-dimensional. And I think that's the best way KU's going to have a chance to win the football game. So a lot of things have to go right for KU to win this game, but I definitely am not going into it saying there's no chance KU wins.
Michael Swain covers the Jayhawks for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Become a VIP subscriber today and get access to all of Michael's great inside info. He joins us every Tuesday on the show here for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, it's always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds great. Talk to you next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll step aside for a timeout, come back and wrap up this hour at 580 Sports Talk. It's Tuesday. Let's do Random Question Tuesday. We didn't get to do Random Question Tuesday last week. Kind of ran out of time for it. We were otherwise occupied. You got a question today?
I'm still trying to figure out how to ask it. So you go.
Okay. My random question for you is, how was the concert Saturday?
We don't have enough time to go into it, but it was like a once in a lifetime experience.
You saw Zach Bryan at
Marshall's
Stadium.
Marshall's football stadium.
Yeah, pretty cool, I imagine.
Yes. He's got a connection. His now former band manager, I don't know what happened there, is from the area, and he went to the homecoming game last year, and he liked it there so much that he decided, let's play a concert when he's playing places like Notre Dame, MetLife, and Michigan's Big House. And he apparently really likes Marshall because he shouted out Marshall like umpteen times and replaced words to say Marshall or Huntington during his show last night, which was pretty freaking awesome. Or Saturday night, it was pretty awesome. So yeah, it was like one of those things where you felt like you're in a fever dream because like it's such a small town.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you had a good time. You flew safe, no travel drama.
Yeah, I mean, shout out American for getting it done.
Hey, that's always a relief to hear. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we got our 580 Sports Talk headlines, full reaction to week 1 of college football, and a preview of tonight's Royals-Angels tilt on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour here on 580 Sports Talk on this Tuesday afternoon. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. We are with you until 6 o'clock. Then we hand things off to the Royals Baseball Network. Royals and Angels, Crowns and Halos, meeting for 3 at Kauffman Stadium to start this week of action. 6:40, first pitch tonight. Royals Baseball Network takes the reins at 6 o'clock for the pregame show. We'll have a little bit more about that game to come later on in this hour. Also, some broader thoughts on an entertaining, a fascinating college football week 1. A lot of big games and a lot of big conclusions from those big games. I got to watch more college football than I expected. My parents were in town. I mentioned this at the 3 o'clock hour. My folks came from Colorado for the long holiday. It had been since March, since my dad had gotten to see Asher. And so they wanted to come out. They came out. They hung out. We kind of just hung out at the house. We got out a little bit. My parents took Asher to the zoo on Friday, and we went out to Gage Park on Saturday, rode the train, and played on the slides.
But a low-key weekend all around.
Yeah, low-key weekend all around. And my mom and my dad are having Asher time, and who am I to deny them that? And in all seriousness, they don't, they're from out of town. They don't get to spend as much time with him. So they're playing with him and reading to him and having a great time. And meanwhile, TV's on. And I got to watch a decent chunk of the big game. I got to watch. In fact, I made it home. I'll tell you what, I played a quick round of golf. Played 18. My dad and I played Berkshire on Saturday morning, and we teed off at 7:28, and I was home to see Corso put on the headgear.
Wow.
Yeah, we flew through that round of golf.
Yeah,
and not because both of us played particularly well, and not because there weren't other people on the course. It was just a fast-moving day.
Yeah.
Perfect day.
Gotta love those fast-moving days.
Less than 3.5 hours. I shot a 93. It was not very good on the front nine. I don't want to talk about the front nine. But I got back in time to see Corso put on the headgear and watch pretty much all of Texas Ohio State. So I saw most of that, and I saw most of the really big games this weekend. I got to see the most of K-State, North Dakota. Kind of wished I hadn't, but I did get to see most of that one. Which meant I had to skip LSU Clemson, but I saw the most second half of that one. Yeah. So we watched a lot of college football. I do kind of wonder, like, the people who do it for a living, and like, hey, I cover the sport for a living, so I have to be like in front of the TV. I have to be watching every snap of all of these big games. Like, I wonder how those folks who do that and have like families with kids, I wonder how they manage.
Yeah, I don't know.
I really wonder.
We got off our plane, and my buddy and his girlfriend live literally 3 minutes away from the Huntington airport.
Oh, that's nice.
So great. We get back because our flight was supposed to land at 11:40, but it's from Charlotte to Huntington is not really an hour and 8 minutes. It's 41 minutes. So we got there, got to his house, turned on game day, and literally they were just going to it.
Nice.
And I was like, this is perfect timing. And then we proceeded to turn to watch Arch Manning play. And
so about that,
watch.
We'll have more about that in a little bit. We do have a text from the 785. We want to hear from you on the text line, 785-272-9429. A text asks, what was worse, Arch Manning's debut or K-State's performance on Saturday? I'll say this, first of all, K-State won their game. So they got that going for them. Now, sometimes a win can feel like a loss when you're a 25.5-point favorite against an FCS team and you last-minute touchdown to win the game. And I understand it was not pretty. And shorter time to get there than they did when the season began to be the team that they want to be and be the team we think they can be. For Arch, I'll say this real quick about Arch. Like, the last 2 drives of the game, you see the vision. Like, the last 2 drives of the game, he was diming it up. That touchdown pass he threw, the one cover 2, a whole shot that he threw down the left sideline for a big gain on their last drive that ended up stalling out. But that throw, like, There aren't 5 other college quarterbacks right now who can make that throw. That's an NFL throw. So like you can see the vision. He was also not very good in all of the drives that preceded that. So rough debut. Certainly means we can pump the brakes on the Heisman hype and the number 1 overall pick in 2026. We can pump
I see why Grandpa Archie said he's coming back for 2026.
He knows. Grandpa knows.
He knows.
Can also maybe see why he couldn't beat out Quinn Ewers last year.
But hey, it's okay because he's still making zillions of dollars. I saw
Oh my God, he had more commercials in the first quarter than completions.
Yes, the glasses.
Yeah, my dad was taunting him. We're watching the game, and my dad's taunting him every time he missed a throw or threw a pick. He said, "I guess you should have worn your Warby Parkers." My dad was frying his ass. It was hysterical. It's good to have some company watching the games for sure. We'll get into week 1 of the college football season here in a little bit. Want to hear from you on the text line. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. Can also comment in the YouTube chat if you are watching on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. We've added 3 new subscribers today. Next stretch goal is 900. We're at 806.
Well, actually, we're at 807 now.
Oh, we're at 807. 4 new subscribers today. That rocks. Thank you. Thank you all for subscribing to the channel. We got to 800 last week. Brendan Drzinski and I will be arm wrestling in 2 weeks on this program. Happy birthday to BD, by the way, in case you missed that earlier in the show. It's Brendan's birthday, so happy birthday to him. That is why he is off today. So we got that coming up, but then our next stretch goal is 900. And when we get to 900, we'll do something else that we will figure out. TBD. We'll share it with you this week. I'm going to run an idea up the flagpole with the fellas, see if they salute.
I definitely knew it was his birthday, but like between getting back and making sure I got everything in order today, definitely just now texted him.
Yeah, send him that birthday bitmoji. Never a bad time to fire that off.
Definitely just shot him that text. I knew about it.
I love doing that. It's so corny, but I get a big kick out of choosing like the one like me and my little avatar wearing like a Rockies t-shirt and hat, like bursting out of a cake that says happy birthday. I send that to all my friends. They think it's hilarious.
I definitely knew about it.
Or at least if they don't think it's funny, they're kind enough not to tell me they don't think it's funny.
Yeah.
Anywho, let's get to the 580 Sports Talk headlines, though, to begin the day. And since it has been a college football heavy show today, let's start with the new edition of the Associated Press Top 25 College Football Poll, which does not include the Kansas State Wildcats. They are one of 2 teams that fell out of the top 25 based on their performance to start the season as they drop into the also receiving votes category. The other team to drop out, Boise State, who had been ranked 25th and got rocked on Thursday night by USF. I'm going to want to watch some USF football. I'll tell you what, their quarterback, Byron Brown, is a trip. That dude can really play. Anyhow, Ohio State is the new number 1 after their win over Texas at the Shoe. They get 55 of a possible 66 first-place votes. Penn State stays at number 2 with 7 first-place votes. LSU, 3rd with 3 first-place votes, moving up 6 spots after they beat Clemson on the road. Georgia up a tick to number 5. Miami up 5 spots to number 10 after they beat Notre Dame at home in another marquee game from the weekend. Oregon has the last of the first-place votes. They are up a spot to number 6. Texas drops 6 spots to number 7. Clemson down 4 spots to number 8. Notre Dame down 3 spots to number 9. South Carolina jumps into the top 10 after being ranked 13th in the preseason poll. 11 through 15, Illinois, Arizona State, Florida State newly into the poll after beating Alabama, and Michigan. That's 11 through 15, Arizona, your highest ranked Big 12 team. Iowa State up 6 spots to number 16. SMU at 17, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Mississippi roundup. That's Ole Miss rounding up the top 20. Always weirds me out. I see them referred to as Mississippi. It's Ole Miss. Just write it as Ole Miss. Yeah. Alabama drops 13 spots from number 8 to number 21. More about them in a little bit. Tennessee, 22. Indiana, 23. Texas Tech, 24. And the other new team into the poll this week, the Utah Utes, who thrashed UCLA in their opener. That is your new AP Top 25. Next headline, Spencer.
First headline for me, we have a Chiefs participation report for their, I guess it's the third practice. It's a short week, obviously, the Wednesday, tomorrow. They're heading to Sao Paulo, Brazil ahead of the Friday game against the Chargers. Well, it's not shocking of who didn't practice. Andy Reid said on Friday that wide receiver Jalen Royal is likely not going to be ready to play in the game. They don't want to push him. Well, he didn't participate in practice today. Defensive lineman Omar Norman Lott was a limited participant due to his ankle injury. Hollywood Brown, Jack Cochran, Christian Fulton, Jawan Taylor, Drew Tranquil, and Jared Wiley were all full participants. And they're listed on the injury report because they're getting treatment for those injuries that they're trying to come back from and making sure they're 100%. So a lot of these guys will probably fall off the injury report in the next week or two because it's before the first game, so they have it on there. And the Chargers, their injury report is out as well, our participation report. Defensive back Elijah Molden with a knee injury, he was limited. And then running back Najee Harris with that eye injury, he was a full participant today.
So he did press availability yesterday wearing sunglasses. Apparently, the firework-related injury he suffered during the offseason was merely a flesh wound, which is good. I'm glad that he didn't lose an eye playing with fireworks. But like, if it were me and I were an NFL player and I knew anything about Jason Pierre-Paul, that would be enough for me to hire somebody else to play with my fireworks. I'm just saying, like, I can put on a fireworks show, maybe a professional one, on an NFL salary in my backyard. I don't need to be handling fireworks. I don't need to be near the fireworks. I don't want to hold a firework. I don't want to light a firework. I don't want to do any of that stuff. If I'm just as me, I got no desire to do it because I know who Jason Pierre-Paul is. But I would think, especially if you're an NFL player and you know that particular cautionary tale, you would be much more inclined to stay away from that. Next headline here in our 5A Sports Talk headlines. Micah Parsons is already hurt. He's got a joint sprain in his back, in his L4 and L5 vertebrae. It's called a facet joint sprain. I've never heard of this injury before. Typically, if they're using fancy medical terminology to refer to an injury, it isn't good, or at least it doesn't seem like it's good. Also, back injuries, never great. Apparently, Parsons is considering receiving an epidural before Sunday's game against the Detroit Lions, if needed, to help him suit up for his new team in week 1. Before trading Parsons last week, the Dallas Cowboys had prescribed him a 5-day course of prednisone, which is an anti-inflammatory corticosteroid that would help him recover from back tightness. I've been on that before for something not a back injury. It was a cough. I had like a cough that wouldn't go away for like a month, and they prescribed me prednisone. And what I remember doing is putting on weight. When I was on that, that'll bloat you in a hurry. Anyway, Parsons was also on a physical therapy program with the Cowboys before the shocking trade to the Packers last week. He was a limited participant, Parsons was, when he practiced on Monday. The participation reports for every other game this week that is not obviously Cowboys, Eagles, or Chargers, Chiefs, because those are early games. The other participation reports for the Sunday games, which Lions Packers will be released tomorrow. So we'll get a clearer picture then of Parsons' practice status. One source told ESPN's Adam Schefter it is still not certain that Parsons will be able to play in Sunday's regular season opener.
I always thought that even if he did play, he wasn't going to play very many snaps because he hasn't done much during training camp anyway.
Right. Yeah. There was always that
he was not going to play a full load of snaps. And then they play Thursday too.
Yeah. It's what Brian Schottenheimer had been saying. He's going to need a ramp up period. So I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play. I know he's going to want to try. And if he does, I'm sure he's not going to be, 60 snaps out there on defense and maybe even just a shell of himself. But still glad. I think the Packers still be glad long-term they made the trade.
Oh, 100%.
You got another back injury update for us, Spencer.
Yes. Matthew Stafford, who apparently is always like hurt. I feel like we go into every season and it's like, head coach. Why am I forgetting his name now? Sean McVay.
Sean McVay. Yeah.
Wrong McVay. Sean McVay always has something to say about him being hurt, I feel like. But Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, who missed time with an aggravated disc in his back, is expected to start the season opener against the Houston Texans. He missed nearly the first month of training camp while dealing with the injury but has been a full participant in practice since August. He returned to practice on August 18th. McVay said that Monday he would participate in a full week of practice and preparation leading up to the Week 1 game against the Texans.
So I'm a little surprised to hear that because remember, he was going into that mysterious trailer and getting some sort of therapy that nobody really could understand or explain. So I'm a little surprised, frankly, that it sounds like Stafford is going to be able to make it to Sunday. I don't know how many Sundays he's going to make it to this year, to be honest. You get to that age and you've taken as many hits as Stafford has, and the back is starting to wear down on you like that. Feels like only a matter of time before that becomes a much longer-term issue. But that is certainly good news for the Rams. We talked to Matt Verderame in the 3 o'clock hour today, our NFL Insider. He's got the Rams going to the Super Bowl. And I think that with a healthy Matthew Stafford, they've got as good a shot as anybody. I just don't know how I feel about that being the case for the entirety of the 2025 season. So
yeah, I don't either. I also, it's when he was in Detroit, you always forget that he was in Detroit, except for when he did magical things like play a rest of a game with a shoulder injury and throw a touchdown to Stafford or throw a touchdown to Calvin Johnson. Do you remember that game?
Oh, yeah.
Like, but then you forget about him. You forget how long he played in Detroit.
He did.
That he is 37 years old.
He is. He was the quarterback, the freshman starting quarterback for Georgia the night that Mike Patrick asked Todd Blackledge on the ESPN broadcast, what is Brittany doing with her life? Before the start of the overtime possession. Right before, I think it was Stafford through the game-winning touchdown, like on the next play.
Yeah. It's just, I forget he's that old.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, 37 years old. Mark B asks on the YouTube comments, who is the Rams backup quarterback? I know Stetson Bennett is their third stringer. You don't want those problems if you're the Rams. It's Garoppolo.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's Garoppolo. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo's their backup quarterback. So, like, I think we know, like, what Garoppolo is. Like, you surround him with, like, the Monstars on offense, you can go to a Super Bowl. I don't think the Rams have the Monstars. Certainly not on the offensive line like the 49ers used to.
Yeah, you know who might start for them at left tackle?
Who's that? Like, because Alaric Jackson is suspended for the first 2 games.
Yes. Well, he is?
Yeah, he's suspended. He PED suspension, I think.
Oh, well, he's also dealing with a lower leg blood clot.
So yeah, it's gonna be DJ Humphries. Gonna be old friend.
Wait, hold on. I don't think he is suspended.
I thought
in this article right below, McVay
did he get suspended last year?
Probably. McVay also said left tackle Alaric Jackson, who's dealing with lower leg blood clots, participated in Monday's
yeah, it was
practice.
last season he got suspended for the first 2 games. That was my mistake. Yeah, I knew he was questionable to play, and it was DJ Humphries with the possibility of playing, and I just got the 2 conflated. That's my bad.
No, I was confused for a second too.
Anyway,
but it looks like Jackson will play unless they flare up.
Couple more quick NFL notes. The Chiefs are not the only team that cannot quit their exes and just bring back familiar faces. The Buffalo Bills have signed Gabe Davis to their practice squad. The 26-year-old visited the team August 20th following a visit with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's recovering from a torn meniscus that he suffered last November. Was released by the Jaguars in May. Obviously, Gabe Davis has a history of torching the Kansas City Chiefs, but he's going to start this year on the practice squad for the Bills. Also, speaking of practice squad opportunities, Deuce Vaughn worked out with the Denver Broncos today, one of 7 players to work out with the team. You remember Darren Sproles, another diminutive K-Stater, one coach that particularly believed in Darren Sproles, Sean Payton, who, of course, is now the coach of the Broncos. So just a workout. We don't know if that's been followed up with signing the practice squad or anything like that, but Deuce Vaughn still looking for work after he was cut by the Cowboys, and he worked out for the Broncos today. Quick visit to the Winner's Circle. We do every Monday, typically, to wrap up headlines. We do it today. Instead, because we didn't have a Monday show. Chase Briscoe dominated the Southern 500 in Darlington over the weekend. His 2nd consecutive win in the 500-mile race at Darlington, holding off Tyler Reddick on the final lap. He's just the 8th driver in stock car racing history to win consecutive races at Darlington. It's a pretty impressive list. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt, Bobby Allison, Cale Yarbrough, and now the 30-year-old Chase Briscoe is on that list. The 4 drivers below the playoff cut line after the first of 3 first-round races: Joey Logano, Austin Dillon, Josh Berry, and Alex Bowman. We'll take a timeout here on 580 Sports Talk. Come back and recap a wild first week of the college football season on 580 Sports Talk. .528 on 580 Sports Talk. Royals baseball coming up. Coverage starting in just over half an hour here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Week 1 of the college football season is in the books. You heard it here last night from Compass Media Networks on 580 WIBW. TCU shellacking North Carolina 48-14. Couple defensive touchdowns for the Frogs. Gio Lopez, the starting quarterback for North Carolina, went 2 hours without completing a pass. 2 real-time hours without completing a pass in the game. It was bad. It was really bad. And so if you were inclined to be a Bill Belichick hater for whatever reason, that was as satisfying a game as you could possibly have asked for. That, I think, was what everybody was kind of hoping was going to happen to Deion Sanders. When Deion Sanders had his first game at Colorado, notably also against TCU, I think that's what everybody was kind of thinking was going to happen. Oh, they're just going to get embarrassed.
But then they went on to win.
Coach is going to get ragdolled. Yes, because here is the critical difference. Deion Sanders had coached in college. Deion Sanders had coached college players in college games. Deion Sanders had a credible starting quarterback, the best two-way player maybe we've ever seen in college football, and at the moment, at the time, he had Dylan Edwards, pretty good player. And they went out and they took it to TCU because they had an understanding of how college football is played in the year, at the time, 2023. Bill Belichick appears to have assembled a staff. Even though Steve, his son, was the DC at Washington last year, he appears to have assembled a staff that doesn't really know how to play 2025 college football, because all TCU did was stuff you've seen hundreds of times if you've watched any kinds of college football, and North Carolina didn't look like they knew what to do, nor did they look athletic enough to do anything about it. So there's the problem. Like, it can be X's and O's all you want. Bill Belichick, you can say whatever you want about his X's and O's, but they're pro X's and O's, and they're college X's and O's. And the pro X's and O's looked pretty antiquated last night. And they didn't have the Jimmies and the Joes to make up for it. Like, Bill Belichick doing a bunch of like Nick Saban defensive concepts, they came up with that defense together. It's fun to imagine how that came about. Would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when they came up with Rip Liz coverage. But pattern matching and all this like football nerdery that they came up with that revolutionized defense on both levels, in the college and in the NFL. But Bill Belichick's used to doing that stuff with like pro defensive backs and not, guys who are going to go pro in something other than sports. And I think you saw the difference. I think it could be a very long year for North Carolina. I just don't think they have the guys. And even if like they show improvement in the understanding of the fundamentals, the understanding of the concepts, game plan better, like you can assume those things are going to happen. And I think that's a fair thing to assume. They are the guys, man, to do much of anything. I really think that TCU exposed them in that way. They don't have the guys. So that was last night.
I would not want to cover. I would not want to be a UNC beat writer. Did you hear what they had to deal with yesterday?
I did not.
You get to the game, the press box, they either have it lined up at your seats or you go pick up a flip card.
Uh-huh.
It just said quarterback, running back,
tight
end, wide receiver.
Depth chart. Yeah.
Not even like, hey, we'll provide you one like as the drive starting. Like, hey, we don't want you to post about it, do whatever. We can have somebody bring it to you, when the drive starts for each one. Nope. How are we in this media field supposed to do a job?
Clearly, it was a huge advantage for North Carolina that TCU didn't know who was starting in nose tackle. Yeah, clearly huge advantage. It's great that Bill's brought his paranoia to bear here. And if it doesn't work out, it's an all-time disaster because North Carolina's got all their eggs in the basket of a 73-year-old who's never coached college football before, and it looked like they never coached college football before.
I think that's the key. Is I think he might be too old to jump back into. He was an assistant in college at one point. I think he's just too old to jump back in full-fledged to what we have, what the college system is now. I get you have your GM that's going to run your NIL
but their GM
and stuff.
Is Michael Lombardi, who's a dunce.
Yeah.
Like, that's just
he was standing down there on the sideline next to him pregame, and I'm like...
They said they were going to be the 33rd NFL team, and they lost to the 33rd best college football team from last season. So that's how that went.
Also, funny note here. UNC played their backup quarterback, Max Johnson.
Yes, they did.
He went 9 of 11, 103 yards, threw the only touchdown that they had through the air.
To his brother, which was cool.
Yes. Do you know how old he is?
He is as old as Bill Belichick's girlfriend.
That is weird.
They made that point on the broadcast.
That is so weird.
Yeah, man. That's like, Bill, what are you doing, man? Like, you don't have... I really don't understand why he's doing that. I really did believe he was going to get cold feet on the whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is elder abuse. Like, I don't know what's going on here. But, Bill, you don't want to be out here, man. You really don't. All that goodwill, all that legacy, and you're going to throw it away, stand on the sideline, lose by 34 points to TCU. TCU scored more points on a Bill Belichick team than any NFL team ever did in his entire coaching career. 511 NFL games on the sideline, never gave up 48.
And he had a bad last couple of years in New England.
Yes.
Like,
maybe Tom Brady is the greatest athlete of all time. I don't know. Maybe we underrated Tom Brady. And I just throwing that out there. If there was a lesson to be learned from college football week 1, it is that we know nothing.
Yeah.
It is that whatever you knew or thought you knew about a team from 2024, you can probably chuck it because the rosters change so much. And it is possible to be a completely different version of yourself a year later. Take, for instance, Florida State. They were the laughing stock of the ACC last year. They went 2-10. They lost the Ireland game and they never recovered. They are a big flashing neon warning for the Kansas State Wildcats right now. They go out and get a new quarterback, and they go out and get a new offensive coordinator, Gus Malzahn. And say what you will about Gus Malzahn as a head coach, but know this. Gus Malzahn could draw up some ball plays, okay? He could draw up some X's and O's, and he had the Alabama Crimson Tide looking completely and utterly lost on a football field in a way that if you have just graduated college, if you're in that range, Spencer, you yourself You have never seen Alabama look like that on a football field. You have never seen a team in an Alabama uniform look like that. Because that was Alabama being overwhelmed, Alabama being bullied, Alabama looking by far second best. And maybe it turns around. Seasons are more than just 4 quarters. But given how last season went, given the fact that Alabama is now 4-4 in their last 8 games, including a loss to Vanderbilt, I hope Kalen DeBoer rented, because it is not going to be very long tenure for him in Tuscaloosa if things do not turn around very quickly. The surprising thing, really, because DeBoer's whole thing is offense, right? Like, he had Michael Penix Cook in there with all those wide receivers. The offense they had run at Washington. Think of Kalen DeBoer, you think of offense. His quarterback doesn't look like he's very good. Yeah. Like Ty Simpson, yeesh. I mean, we're going to talk about another quarterback who didn't have a very good debut. But boy, Ty Simpson, not great. And Alabama managed to stay in the top 25. We have a text from 75 says they should not be in the top 25. I can't really argue with that, to be completely honest with you. I would have dropped him out of my top 25 after that performance. Other marquee games for the weekend: Ohio State beat Texas 14-7. Texas was in the red zone twice and didn't score any points, and that was pretty much the whole ball game. Give Ohio State credit. Give their defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, credit. Boy, I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah.
Again, we'll see how that goes for 12 games, but that actually started a lot better than I think a lot of people were anticipating. Someone who did not start better than people anticipated was Arch Manning. Mm-hmm. After an entire offseason about hearing how he was the clear-cut Heisman favorite, was going to revolutionize the sport, what we got on Saturday was decidedly not that. He was 17 of 30 for 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, looked shook, I think is the best way to describe it. Missed a lot of like really easy throws. First play of the game, really simple concept, rollout, levels concept to the rollout side, and he's got the middle route like wide open, and he just turfed it. Like, he flat missed the throw. And look, man, it's a whole new ball game when you're playing against the big boys on the road. And Arch Manning looked shook. And Julian Sayin did not look a whole lot better, if we're being honest, for Ohio State. Like, they only scored 14 points. They were not particularly overwhelming on offense. Like, I am not convinced that that's the number 1 team in the country. But they beat the previous number 1 team in the country at home. So naturally, they moved to number 1 in the AP poll. Am I ready to declare Arch Manning a complete and total fraud? No, because watch the last 2 drives and some of the throws he made on the last 2 drives. Yes, there were the throws he missed, but the throws he made, there aren't other quarterbacks making those throws. Like, he's got to make the layups. He missed a lot of layups against Ohio State. When he starts making the layups, and they got 3 games to get right against substandard competition coming up. When he starts making the layups, I think he'll be pretty good in the end. But a lot of schadenfreude to be had there with Arch, who we had to hear all off season about he was the chosen one, and he came out and laid an egg. It must be said. They laid an egg in that opener. LSU beat Clemson on the road. Brian Kelly finally gets a signature week 1 win. They've been coming out of the gates and stumbling, but they go to Clemson and they win. Garrett Nussmeier out-dueling Cade Klubnik. I want to see it with Cade Klubnik. People who follow the college game closer even than I do see it with Cade Klubnik. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't think he's a guy. Nussmeier, I do think, is a guy. 2 really good defenses. I'm not surprised that game was low scoring, but LSU able to win that one. Miami, Notre Dame on Sunday. Jeremiah Love of Notre Dame might be the best running back in the country. He's certainly on a short list of the best running backs in the country. Carried the ball 10 times. And frankly, for me, that is borderline fireable for Notre Dame's offensive coordinator. Give your best player the ball. No, instead, it was C.J. Carr, the freshman quarterback, redshirt freshman quarterback, throwing tunnel screen after tunnel screen after tunnel screen, or bubble after bubble after bubble. It was screen, screen, screen. We're going to get him in rhythm. We're going to get him into a rhythm. I hate when they do that with young quarterbacks. He looked terrible. I think 19 of 30, 221, 2 touchdowns, interception. I was very unconvinced by C.J. Carr. Like, that was really what you came away from the weekend. All of these teams, and we talked about this in the lead up to the season, teams with Big expectations, but big question marks at quarterback. How are those quarterbacks going to look? I don't think Julian Sayin was particularly overwhelming. Gunnar Stockton was fine for Georgia, but they didn't play anybody. Oregon's quarterback, Dante Moore, he played okay. Notre Dame's quarterback, CJ Carr, underwhelming. Arch Manning, underwhelming. No, did look good. Michigan's quarterback, Bryce Underwood, looked awesome. Like, I think that's a guy for Michigan, for sure. But that will be what bears watching here in the month of September is these young quarterbacks. How fast do they improve? You're going to see Arch Manning put up some crazy numbers the next 3 weeks. And it's going to be very funny that we had the fraud watch conversation because I do.
Yeah.
It was bad, but also you could see the vision. You can really see it. I'm resolute in it was not good. It was a lot of missed layups. I don't think a quarterback like that with that kind of arm is going to miss layups all season. That is my belief. That is my belief. It is reasonable to have him on fraud watch. I do not believe that he is a fraud. Quick look at our 580 Sports Talk picks contest. We have a tie after week 1. Everybody went 1-2. Not a great weekend. Maybe really what we took away from week 1 of the college football season is we know nothing. Just the three of us here.
Except for me. I know my team.
You know your team. Marshall covered against the Georgia Bulldogs.
You know, I screamed in that restaurant we were sitting at when they scored that touchdown, and I said, yes, hopefully they can keep the score this way for the next quarter.
They did, and they covered. But KU didn't cover, and Baylor didn't win on the money line, so you went 1-2.
Yeah. KU should have covered. They had a opportunity to score late.
If they hadn't thrown that pick and given up that touchdown,
they had an opportunity to score late. It's college football. Just run one more score in there.
Run the cover play. Brendan's picks, he was correct. Georgia Tech covered the 4.5 at Colorado. Haynes King ran the cover play. Scored that last-minute touchdown. They didn't play for the field goal. They got the touchdown and the win and the cover. But he had Oregon State -2 against Cal, and Cal beat the brakes off the Beavers. You would talk about a freshman quarterback who looked good. Sagapalote, I believe is how you pronounce the last name of that young man at Cal. We're all going to need to learn his name pretty short order if he's that good. He's a former 5-star recruit. I had no idea. And, he was awesome for Cal. And then he had UMass on the money line. Temple whipped UMass. Oh man, maybe Casey Keeler's going to have those Owls a factor in the American race. Who knows? I went 1-2. I was correct on the under in Texas, Ohio State, under 47. That easily cashed. Baylor did not cover, obviously, because they got rolled. And K-State did not cover because they played poorly. They did not cover 25.5. But hey, at least they won. We'll take a timeout, come back. We'll talk a little baseball as we get closer to rounding out this show here on this Thursday on 580 Sports Talk. Royals baseball coming up tonight. In about 14 minutes, we'll hand it off to the Royals Baseball Network for pregame coverage. 6:40 first pitch at the K this evening as the Royals welcome the Angels to town. First meeting of the year between the Royals and the Angels. Angels are bad. This needs to be a sweep. Royals need to go 5-1 on this portion of the homestand. It's their last 9-game homestand of the season. They started with a series loss to the Tigers on the weekend. Frustrating, but understandable in the end because you ran into Tarek Skubal on Sunday. It is what it is. But they got to find a way to win 5 of the next 6 with the Angels and the Twins into town. When the calendar flips to September, the teams that are out of it start to play their young guys, their less experienced guys, start to roll some different pitchers out there. Got to jump on those guys. If you're a serious contender to make the playoffs, and the Royals at 2.5 games out of the playoffs coming into today certainly fancy themselves as one of those teams. They have got to find a way to get 5 of the next 6 before they head out on the road. Roster expansion was yesterday. Rosters expanded to 28 players, and the Royals brought up Jack Caglione and Luinder Avila, the right-handed pitcher. They also called up Carter Jensen, selecting his contract from Omaha, adding him to the 40-man roster. The Royals had a spot on the 40-man roster because Mark Canha had been released. So Carter Jensen, the young catcher, Kansas City area kid, gets the call. Jonathan India goes on the IL, dealing with a left wrist sprain, didn't play over the weekend, and goes on the IL retroactive to August 30th. The Royals lose him, and all of a sudden are extremely left-handed heavy in their lineup, and that is reflected by the lineup they're running out there against Mitch Ferris tonight as the left-hander makes his major league debut for the Angels. According to Ann Rogers of MLB.com, the Royals beat writer, speaking with Matt Quatrero before tonight's game, says Salvador Perez will still catch the majority of the time, even with an extra catcher on the roster with Jensen and Maley. Jensen will be available to pinch hit, pinch run, and go in for defense. Also, good news for Cole Reagans. He is scheduled to throw live BP tomorrow. First time he's faced hitters since he went on the injured list with that rotator cuff strain. Still a chance the Royals get him back for a mid-September playoff push. And they could use it because it really feels like the pitching staff's leaking oil right now. Stephen Kolek was really good on Saturday in his Royals debut. That was promising, but Michael Wacha's a 5-and-dive guy. Seth Lugo right now really can't be trusted. Noah Cameron, you're trying to manage his innings a little bit because he's got a career high in innings.
Which that really puts a damper on how you're just lucky with the off day you have here and there to do things like that. But I mean, like the fact he hasn't pitched since last week and he's not going to pitch in this series.
Yeah. And you have to, like, you have to manage guys' arms, but at the same time, that had been one of your more reliable guys. And right now you can't really rely on him. Michael Lorenzen is who he is, but right now he's kind of the more reliable veteran of that group. And then you have Ryan Berger, 5. So they could really use a boost from Reagans for sure if they could get him back at any point. It is Lorenzen tonight, 5-8 on the year, a 4.62 earned run average. Lorenzen has been pretty meh since coming off the injured list. That's not a technical term. It's not a baseball term. Hasn't been very good either of his last 2 times out. Gave up 4 runs in 5. Got the no decision against the White Sox, though he did strike out 6 in his most recent outing. Royals could certainly use some length from him. Mitch Ferris tonight for the Angels is making his major league debut. 6'2 left-hander, former 14th round pick of the Braves, acquired by the Angels this offseason. Had a 4.27 earned run average at AA Rocket City, but did have 142 strikeouts in 116 innings. So certainly has the ability to get some swings and misses and some punch-outs. At least he did in the minor leagues. The lineups tonight, and I will be completely honest with you, I follow baseball pretty closely. Closer than a lot of people. The last 3 guys in the Angels lineup, I did not immediately know their first names. I had to go and look them up. For the Royals tonight, it's a familiar lineup. Maikel Garcia will lead off against the lefty, playing third base. Then Bobby Witt Jr. at short, Vinny Pasquantino at first. Salvador Perez will hit cleanup. Mike Yastrzemski is in the lineup tonight. Rare to see him in the lineup against the lefty, but he will play right field and bat 5th. Randall Grichuk will DH and bat 6th. Then Adam Frazier at second base, batting 7th. Nick Lofton in left field. and Kyle Isbell in center. So even though it's a left-handed starter on the mound, the Royals will still roll 4 lefties in their starting lineup. And they really don't have a whole lot of other options. I mean, the guys they called up, Jensen and Caglione, both left-handed. So they are a very left-handed heavy lineup as it is. The lineup facing Michael Lorenz and Zach Neto, the shortstop for the Angels, will lead it off and play short. Then Yoan Moncada, former White Sox, he will bat second, play third. Mike Trout is the DH tonight. 20 home runs for Trout this year, 786 OPS. He's solid still in the twilight of his career. Joe Adell, who leads the Angels with 31 homers, is in right field batting cleanup. Then Luis Rengifo at second base. Logan O'Hoppe behind the plate batting sixth. And then it's the guys whose names I had to look up. Matthew Lugo. I don't believe any relation to Seth. I can double check that real fast. No, but he is Carlos Beltran's nephew.
Wow.
Matthew Lugo in left field batting seventh. Oswald Peraza, the former Yankee, he is going to bat eighth and play first base. And then a gentleman named Bryce Teodosio. I had to double check. Bryce Teodosio is the center fielder batting ninth. He's hitting 203.
Wow.
That is your lineups. Those are your lineups tonight. Royals need to win. Royals need to keep winning with the season rapidly slipping away. We'll take a timeout, come back with the final word after this. Final word time here at 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, what you got?
Oh, sorry. My earbuds were not playing.
Oh.
My final word for me is that this will be the only unsports related one for this week. Cliff note on the concert. Zach Bryan has hired horns and strings to go along with his band. And oh my gosh, watching that all together, I was more hyped to watch them play by the end of the horns and strings than I was to hear him play guitar. It's crazy. Like, I still can't get over it. Final word for me.
That's awesome. Glad you had a good time out there in Huntington. Final word for me. It is too early to write off the 2025 Kansas State Wildcats, but they are very clearly a program in need of soul searching. Why do they not get off to better starts in games? What is the optimal way to utilize Avery Johnson to best make the offense more consistent and more explosive? How long will it take this new four-man front to become as effective as it needs to be? And are they big enough, strong enough, physical enough on both sides of the line to make everything come together? It didn't look like the answer to that last one is a real good answer for K-State after they very nearly lost to North Dakota on Saturday. But if it was indeed a hangover game, and look, every team that's gone to Ireland has had a game like that. If that's what that was, and they come out and are convincing in a win over Army on Saturday, then that will put a lot of concerns to bed. They need to make very clear that what that was on Saturday was a hangover game, that they can be physical, that they can be a good starting team and not just a good finishing team. There's a long way for this team to go, a lot longer than we thought coming into this year. Those of us who thought K-State would win this league, that's still in front of them. But they got to do some soul searching after that performance on Saturday. We're back tomorrow from 3 until 6. Royals baseball is next. For Spencer Dupuis, I'm Dan Lucero. Happy birthday, Brendan. This is 5A Sports Talk. Good night.